then you need to type *9 on your keypad, and then you will enter into the queue for questions. Some of you have done that before, but we had to reset the queue, so please do that again, and sorry for any inconvenience. Today, beside Dr. Tedros, WHO Director General, Mike Ryan, Executive Director for Health Emergency Program, Dr. Maria Vankova, Technical Lead within the Health Emergencies Program. We also have Dr. Sylvie Briand, that you all know very well. You have seen her a couple of times, Director for Global Infectious Hazard Preparedness at WHO, as well as Ms. Melinda Frost, who is Technical Officer and working with Dr. Briand on the issue of what we call infodemic, and this is something that we will be talking a little bit more about today. As always, we will have an audio file and transcript from this press briefing. I'm giving the floor immediately to Dr. Tedros.
Thank you, Tari. First of all, my apologies. We should have started it at 4 p.m. But as you know, there is a board meeting running parallel. So I had a session where I was supposed to attend. So that's why we're late. So I hope you will understand. And thank you so much for bearing with us. And good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us on a Saturday. Today I'm going to break with tradition and start with a brief update on the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Along with novel coronavirus, it's one of the many disease outbreaks that WHO is combating around the world. At this moment, our emergencies division is dealing with 216 ongoing events. Since the start of February, there have been 3 cases of Ebola in the DRC. It's clearly too soon to celebrate while there are cases anywhere in DRC, because the risk of spread within the country and to neighboring countries still remains very high. But this is the lowest recorded, and we see a positive trend. However, the progress deserves recognition, and despite ongoing security challenges, responders, the majority of whom are local people, have adopted and localized the response to increase its effectiveness and acceptance. Side by side with improved therapeutics, which are substantially decreasing mortality, as well as a safe and effective vaccine that has now been licensed, the response has dramatically been strengthened over time and provides a preparedness blueprint to fight future Ebola and other disease outbreaks. We must use the momentum in the DRC to finish off this Ebola outbreak and then look to the future by investing in building a strong and resilient health system that can quickly snuff out outbreaks in the future. And I would like to use this opportunity to thank the government of DRC for its leadership, and for our health workers and all responders, and to all partners who have supported the fight against Ebola. On the new coronavirus, here are the latest figures. As of earlier today, there were 34,598 confirmed cases in China and 723 deaths. Outside China, there were 288 cases in 24 countries with 1 death. I would also like to speak briefly about the importance of facts, not fear, in the new coronavirus outbreak. People must have access to accurate information to protect themselves and others. While the virus spreads, misinformation makes the job of our heroic health workers even harder. It's diverting the attention of decision makers, and it causes confusion and spreads fear to the general public. At WHO, we're not just battling the virus, we're also battling the trolls and conspiracy theorists that push misinformation and undermine the outbreak response. As the Guardian headline noted today, I quote, "Misinformation on the coronavirus might be the most contagious thing about it," end of quote. However, WHO and partners are fighting back with a four-pronged approach. First, we are leveraging our existing network called EpiWin, which stands for WHO Information Network for Epidemics. The WHO's risk communications and infodemic management team actively track misinformation in multiple languages. Second, WHO's infodemics team is working hand in glove with our communications department to deliver information to a broader public audience. This includes addressing rumors by publishing mythbusters and live Q&A interviews with experts on our website and social channels and through the media. Third, we are also engaging with search, social, and digital companies such as Facebook, Google, Tencent, Baidu, Twitter, TikTok, Weibo, Pinterest, and others. We're asking them to filter out false information and promote accurate information from credible sources like WHO, CDC, and others. And we thank them for their efforts so far. Finally, we're connecting with influencers through Instagram and YouTube, among others, to help spread factual messages to their followers with a focus on Asia-Pacific region. In essence, to fight the flood of misinformation, we're building a band of truth tellers that disperse fact and debunk myths. Before concluding, I want to thank those donors who have made contributions in the past few days since we launched the $675 million appeal to fuel the new coronavirus response. It's really important to make sure that all activities of the response are adequately funded at WHO and key partners. Just to mention the donors so far and to thank them: the United States, the United Kingdom, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Netherlands, the Czech Republic, Japan, and the Wellcome Trust. But the response requires more funding, and we call upon all donors to please step up. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tedros, for this update on Ebola situation in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, as well as update on coronavirus. So we will start taking questions. Just to remind again those who are online, we already have a few questions online. If you are on your internet connection, then click raise hand in the right-hand side of your screen. If you are by phone, please push *9 on your *9 on your keypad if you are calling by phone. Any questions here in the room? Mark, please. If you can.
Yes, Mark Webster from China Global Television.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Could I just ask you, Dr. Ryan, you said yesterday you've been in talks with some of the operators of the cruise liners where the people have been quarantined. The implication, I thought, of what you're saying is that each time there is a new outbreak, that means an additional 14 days of quarantine. Was that a correct understanding, or is it in fact? Because that would potentially be a very, very long quarantine indeed.
Thanks for the question. No, it was really, we have ongoing discussions with the, not with the cruise line companies per se, but with the authorities who are taking care of the investigations and the support to people on board. And certainly we have ongoing technical discussions with our colleagues in Japan, and we'll follow up again tomorrow with another technical call. So it's really about understanding how patients are being, not patients, people are being managed on board. So how they're being cohorted in different groups, because if you assign 3,700 people to the same risk group, and then there's one more case, then you assume that possibility that 3,700 were exposed. That's not true, but you have to make that assumption. So by breaking the groups on board down into smaller numbers, you can then allow some people to pass through the incubation period, but some people might still be at risk. So this is really, and many around the world, and many authorities, actually, if we look at we were in touch with health authorities in the Caribbean today, because they have many experts in how you investigate and contain infectious diseases on ships, because our Caribbean health authorities have great experience of dealing with this. So we're reaching out to other partners as well. So the aim here is to ensure, and we again thank the Japanese authorities for the care they're providing, and remember they are doing that. Anyone who is sick or is positive has been taken to care. But we're also working to ensure that those individuals who are left on the ships are able to get off as quickly as possible, and just ensure the protocols and the algorithms can work, and we don't end up with an unfortunate consequence of people having to stay too long in that situation.
Thank you very much. We will take one more question here. Dario, please.
Dario from AFP. I was just wondering, there was a conference in Singapore at the Grand Hyatt earlier in January where several infections apparently occurred there. I was just wondering if you're taking particular interest in that, and if there is a possibility of a super spreader or anything like that at this hotel. Also on the name, I just know China today is calling it named it Novel Koronavirus pneumonia. Is that what we should be using now, or do we wait for you? Or
On the name, we're working on it. We're very close. So we will let you know as soon as possible.
Investigation,
yeah,
Singapore?
if I could start on the investigation in Singapore and elsewhere, and maybe others want to comment on this. Each instance of a case that's identified, not only within China but outside of China, is important. Every single case matters. Every single instance where there's the possibility of human-to-human transmission matters. Where in some countries where we are seeing some human-to-human transmission or a potential cluster, this is very important. It's important to understand who has come in contact with whom, how many of those contacts are leading to another infection, and what that means. You know, how did they come in contact with each other? What did that encounter entail? And where did the contacts of those contacts go? So yes, every single instance of human-to-human contact outside of China, and inside of China for that matter, is very important. So we are keeping a very close eye on that and making sure that we have detailed, I'm sure you've seen some of the images of looking at the cases and contacts with one another, but each one of those presents an opportunity for us to learn about this virus and how it transmits, so that we can learn more about control.
And just to add specifically on the Singapore cases, every day as we receive information on new cases from any of the countries, we try to link each and every new case reported to its existing transmission chain. So we don't just take each day as a new day. We will go back and see how that case, and we actually have a team looking at each individual transmission chain across all of the countries, so we can link each case to its potential origin and its potential exposure. And at this case, we do keep the situation in Singapore. We had the cluster in Germany. We have clusters in various places. And the clusters are of great interest to us because, number one, they allow us to understand the virus, and number two, they are, as you say, particular opportunities for the virus to spread. So we're keeping an extremely close eye on clustering of cases.
Thank you very much. Stephanie, and please one question per person. We have a number of questions online. Stephanie, please go ahead.
Thank you. Reuters, Stephanie Lepay. For Director General, if possible, sir, there's been anticipation of this WHO-led international mission. I believe on Wednesday you said it was very, very close. Can you tell us where you are on that? The board is ending. Are you able to make any announcement? And is the ball still in China's court? Can you confirm, the status? Have you submitted names?
Yes.
To the Chinese authorities?
Yes, we have submitted names, and I got a response actually today. So the team leader will be leaving either Monday or Tuesday. That's what we're aiming at now, and then the rest of experts will also follow after that. So got a response today.
Just a clarification. Can you follow up? Can you say whether there will be CDC members as a part of that technical team, please?
That's we hope so. We have already submitted a list. So we hope, we hope so.
Thank you, Stephanie. Now we will go online. Kai Kupferschmidt. Kai, can you hear us with this new system?
Yes, thanks. So I'll follow up on that because that was the question I also had. Is there any more information you can give us on who will be part of this team? Can you name the leader, and can you say a little bit about what their remit will be there, where they will go?
We will publicize everything as soon as we're ready, but we have already a team lead identified. But I think it would be good if we can release it with the rest of the team.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kai. Now we will go to the next one. It's Anne Galland. Anne, can you hear us?
Oh, hi there. Hi, thanks very much for taking my question. Yeah, it was about the outbreak in the ski resort and the 5 British people. Sorry, I'm going a bit UK focused here. I just wondered if you're concerned about a ski resort, an outbreak at a holiday resort like that, with lots of people flying in from different places and then flying out again, and also whether you'll be able to quarantine people that have come into contact with these people that have been diagnosed with the disease. Thanks very much.
Yes, thank you. So indeed, now we have had the notification of 5 cases of people with symptoms that have been detected in France. They were from a family of 11 people from Brittany, and they have been Great Britain, sorry, and they have been they were having holidays in a ski resort in France, and but they were before coming to France for their holidays, they were in Singapore. So the people who have shown symptoms are currently hospitalized in Lyon and in Grenoble, but the investigation is ongoing to see who are the other contacts and to take the measures that are necessary. So this news is very recent. I mean, they were hospitalized yesterday, so we are still waiting for more information from national authorities to get information on this new cluster of cases.
Et Sylvie, est-ce que tu peux répéter aussi en français? Ça va
Oui.
mieux pour les...
Bien sûr, donc en français. Donc nous avons eu l'information qu'il y a donc une famille d'Anglais qui passait ses vacances dans d'une station de ski au Contamine Montjoie en France, en Haute-Savoie. Cette famille en fait est arrivée en France pour faire du ski, mais avait passé quelques jours avant à Singapour. Au sein de cette famille, 5 personnes présentaient des symptômes et sont actuellement hospitalisés pour des tests et puis avoir un diagnostic et surveillance. Et donc l'investigation est en cours pour évaluer la taille des contacts, enfin le nombre de contacts, et aussi faire le suivi des gens qui présentent les signes de la maladie.
Thank you very much, Dr. Briand. Next question is Imogen from BBC. Imogen, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, it's also about the French cases, but a more general question. I mean, our information is that it's just one of these people had been in Singapore. I'm just wondering whether some of the things we're seeing of the cases outside China can tell you anything about the transmissibility of the virus, which a lot of people I've talked to say this is the question, that there's a lot of questions about that.
Imogen, I think you're absolutely correct, and that's one of the things we've been looking at, is that secondary, tertiary transmission, and where we see transmission either within families or in groups outside a country in which there have been previous cases, and whether again there's onward transmission from that. And there is no doubt that we've seen such clusters. But what has been obvious too is that those have been small clusters, and the overall number of people associated with those clusters has been very, very limited. The question remains as to whether we're in a lag phase and the rate of infection may pick up, or whether we're seeing more what is the natural history of the disease. And it's way too soon to tell that, but it is why these clusters are very unfortunate, and we feel particularly sorry for families who get caught up in this. It's a very frightening time. But those clusters also can teach us a lot about the natural dynamics of disease transmission, and we're doing exactly what you're actually suggesting, is looking very closely.
If I can add to that, just to say that what we need are these detailed investigations that are happening in all of these clusters, and these are ongoing, as we understand. But in these investigations, following all those cases, following all those contacts, so that we can actually quantify what is happening in terms of transmission, in terms of shedding, in terms of if individuals are on the mild end of the spectrum or if they develop severe disease. This can help us really better understand this virus.
Thank you very much. We have a couple of other questions where we were not able to identify the caller, so we'll ask the next caller, who is calling us from Japan, if you can introduce yourself and media you are working for, and then ask the question. Please go ahead.
Okay, hi, could you hear me?
We can hear you very well. Hello, are you still there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. I'm Kenji from Nikkei, calling from Japan. Okay, I have a question to the Director General regarding the forum next week, scheduled for February 11th and 12th on the global research and innovation. I was wondering whether anyone from Taiwan will be in this forum, and well, if yes, I would like to know how many of them are coming from Taiwan and who they're coming, and would that mean that there's a change, a reversal in a policy of not allowing Taiwanese people or Taiwanese experts to join in any of the WHO organizations and the meetings? And if not, if they're not coming, could you tell us why they're not coming, even though this virus doesn't really have a boundary, and all scientists should be joining in? Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, just to clarify, there will be many hundreds of experts, 400 in total, but and they will be dialing in from all over the world. Many colleagues who are obviously in high-risk countries are taking the opportunity not to travel, and we will have Taiwanese colleagues online, as we will have experts from the rest of China online, and I'm sure they will listen attentively and they will contribute equally to the discussions. Again, to reassure, we've been very much technically engaging with Taiwanese officials and public health experts, and engaging in communicating and coordinating with them on any suspect or probable cases outside the country. They've been engaged in teleconferences with colleagues from China mainland and colleagues from the European Centre for Disease Control and tracking probable cases. And therefore we can assure you of this full technical cooperation with our technical counterparts in Taiwan and the rest of China. The DG may want to comment as well, because I know you've had other discussions.
I think that's enough.
Thank you very much. I think the next question comes from The Economist, but I don't have a name of the caller, so if you can hear us, please introduce yourself.
Yes, this is Slavea Chankova from The Economist. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Please go ahead.
Thank you. What kind of data has the WHO received from China on transmission rates, shedding of the virus, serological data, anything from the hundreds of thousands of contacts that are being monitored at the moment?
So we're receiving information from China daily on the cases that are being reported by area within China. There's information that we have received. In fact, we're active. Just read a paper that's recently come out from hospitalized patients in Wuhan. There's a lot of information that either comes through official channels or is being published. Is that okay? Okay. Which gives us more information around severity, which gives us some information on shedding. But this information is coming in daily almost. So what we've seen on transmission is that in this recent paper that's come out, it's looking at hospitalized patients, and we've seen some transmission that's happening in healthcare facilities, and this is very important because as we've said from the beginning, one of the areas that we're worried about for transmission is human-to-human transmission in healthcare facilities and the possibility of amplification events, which is why we've put out guidance and recommendations around infection prevention and control to make sure that we prevent hospital transmission. Do you want to add, Mike?
And I would just continue, as the DG has, to encourage and call upon our member states to share all relevant information with WHO, especially information related to cases, to investigations, to lab and environmental and other investigations. We continue to lag behind from a number of different sources, and we really do want to get that data so we can make the best possible global risk assessment. So just a call to all. I know every country is under great pressure. There's a huge amount of demand on everyone, but the quicker we build an effective and comprehensive global picture of this disease, the better we will be able to advise everyone regarding how we can control it together.
Thank you very much. So we will take a few more questions. Anyone here in the room? No? So we go... Dario, please go ahead.
Yeah,
just one, please.
This is for Dr. Van Koeppen. I know you keep getting asked this, but about the profiles of the people who've died, and you said that it tends to be older people, it tends to be or people with underlying conditions. I mean, obviously we now have the case of a 31-year-old or 32-year-old doctor. So I'm just wondering, are you able to give any figures or a breakdown of the ages?
So I appreciate the need to want to have this level of detail, and what we can tell you is what we're learning from the reported cases, what we're learning from these published studies, what we're learning from the information that we receive on the teleconferences, which, as we've said, is a global network of clinicians who are treating patients. The information is still early. I mean, we're still 6-7 weeks into this, and it is a growing picture of learning this. So we do have individuals who are on the severe end of the spectrum, on the mild end of the spectrum, and I said yesterday that we had some information from 17,000 cases where overall 82% of those individuals are mild, 15% are severe, and 3% are critical. We do have some information of mortality by age, which, as we've said previously, increases as age increases, with the highest mortality in those above 80 years old. These are snapshots right now in terms of, at this point in time, this is the number of people who have died out of the number who have been reported. And overall, that number of deaths versus those that are reported is between 1% and 2%. But as surveillance increases, as detection increases, the ability of countries to detect, we will be able to pick up more people who are on the more mild end of the spectrum. So that number will change. The proportion of people who die may change.
Thank you very much. Let's take one more question from online. We have someone calling from France. Can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, good afternoon. It's Hugo Miller calling from Bloomberg News. And I just wanted to ask further to the latest statistics that Dr. Tedros gave about deaths and cases in China. Could you provide any more detail about what the rate of spreading of the virus is outside Hubei? In other words, particularly important hubs, Shanghai, Beijing, but outside Hubei, are you seeing the rate of spread accelerating, decelerating? Any insight on that would be appreciated. Thank you.
The information that we receive, I'll start, and perhaps others will answer. So we receive data every day on the number of reported cases by province. And these numbers are something that we're plotting over time. I don't actually have these right in front of me right now. But what we were just looking at before the press conference started is that there's 2 areas outside of Hubei that have more than 1,000 cases right now. And so the numbers of reports it's hard to say if these are increasing or decreasing, because what we really want to know is when the symptom onset was. not just the number of cases reported per day, but when that symptom onset was, so that we know if there's an acceleration or if there's an increase or a growing epidemic, or if it's actually turned.
Yep. And in addition, there has been a stabilization in the number of cases reported from Hubei, and we're in a sort of a 4-day stable period where the disease or the number of reported cases hasn't advanced, and that's good news, and may reflect the impact of the control measures that have been put in place. But remember, there are also lots of suspected cases still to be tested, so a lot of stuff has to work its way through the system. What we've seen are stable numbers outside the Hubei province, and we haven't seen. We've seen quite a low but steady incidence in places outside, but those numbers, as I say, continue to grow slowly day by day, and it's not clear which of those provinces may end up having complete control over the disease, or in which provinces that may escalate in. And I think the Chinese authorities are taking extra actions in some provinces. They have some concerns, obviously, and we will see. We will track it. We track every single province on a daily basis, and we hope that the same stabilization that appears to be occurring in Wuhan also occurs outside. But again, it's very, very, very early to make any predictions about numbers in this outbreak. This is still a very intense disease outbreak in Wuhan and Hubei, and there are still great risks in practically all of the other provinces. So we will wait and see.
So to add maybe to that, out of the 34,000 cases, close to 25,000 are from Hubei province. And then we have two provinces with more than 1,000 cases. These are Guangdong and Zhejiang. The rest are less than 1,000 cases. And if you see the trend, it's actually not really accelerating. But of course, very difficult to give the details of what's happening, but it's not a significant increase if you take it day by day in the rest of the provinces. So the centerpiece is actually Hubei. And even in Hubei, we see some stabilizing in the last 4 days. But even that, I think we have to understand it with caution. For a few days, and then they can shoot up. And especially with, as you said, super spreaders and so on, and community transmission, it's very hard or not really right to speculate. But what we know is we have to give it our best, especially at the source, especially in Hubei province. And I think that's paying off. Because the spread to the rest of the world from Hubei is really, to the rest of China and to the rest of the world, is actually slow. In the rest of the world, we have 288 cases, and the increase is slow since we declared peak. But again, even the global spread, I said it many times, it's slow now, but it may accelerate. So while it is still slow, there is a window of opportunity that we should use to the maximum in order to have a better outcome and to, further decrease the progress and ultimately stop it.
And we will take really the last question from our friend Helen Branswell. Helen, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Not so well. Can you speak a little bit louder, please?
Sure. I wanted to follow up on something Maria said a few minutes ago about having data showing the demographics of the fatal cases. You said the rate was higher, above 80. Can you give any more detail?
Thanks, Helen. So I can give you a snapshot of some case fatality rates by age. It's not recent, but it's based on 7,000 cases where we see an increase in age, where the highest was above 80 years old. And it does steadily increase if we look at under 29, 30 to 49, 50 to 59, 60 to 69, and then the highest in that 80. But again, so one of the things that's really important when we're considering mortality, when we're considering deaths, is looking at these individuals who are infected with this novel coronavirus and if they have underlying conditions. We do know that there are certain underlying conditions that make people more at risk for developing severe disease and death. And this profile is still the same as we reported previously, with underlying conditions such as diabetes and hypertension. And so those are important things to collect. We have recently released a case report form, a clinical case report form, which we are encouraging hospitals and clinicians to use so that standardized data collection can be captured from patients who are hospitalized. And by using this form, we will get a better picture of how individuals who are infected with this virus, what their disease progression is, and so that we can capture this information to have a better picture of what disease and severe disease looks like.
Thank you very much. With this, we will conclude this daily press briefing. The audio file will follow shortly, and we will have a transcript hopefully tomorrow morning posted on our website. I thank all of our guests, all those online and those watching us on our Twitter account. Thank you very much, and maybe we see you tomorrow.